In the 2024 presidential election, Donald Trump beat Kamala Harris with 312 electoral college votes to Harris's 226 electoral college votes. Today, we'll be looking at a hypothetical 2028 battleground map based on the latest fundamentals, betting odds, and much more. Hit the like button and subscribe if you want more content just like this. Looking at the safe Republican states on the map, we have the state of Utah, Idaho, Wyoming, Montana, the Dakotas, all of Nebraska, excluding the 1st and 2nd congressional districts. We can actually go down over here and see, actually, technically that one is in the safe column. Kansas, Oklahoma, Missouri, Arkansas, Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, Tennessee, Kentucky, Indiana, West Virginia, South Carolina are all in the safe Republican column as of right now, over a 12-point margin for the Republican nominee in all of these states. Some of these are underperformances from the last election from Donald Trump's win. Some of them are relatively stagnant and they don't really change much from last time, but some of them are pretty big swings. Like Utah's only a 14-point win for the presumptive Republican nominee, as opposed to in 2024, he won it by 22 points. This is mainly due to the very liberal trending Salt Lake City area. It's going to be a huge impact on Utah's future and potentially will put it in the likely Republican column going into the 2030s. So those are all of the safe states that I can think of as of right now that would be obvious. California, Oregon, Washington join this column. You know, California at 25 points, Oregon about 16, and Washington about 21 points for the Democrat, as well as Colorado at over 13 points. So it is now in the safe Democrat column. It was not safe Democrat in the last election when Harris won it by 11 points, give or take. So that state is going to be in the safe Democrat column as of right now. Looking at Illinois, that will also be in the safe column at above 12 points at almost a 16-point win. Harris only won it by 10.9%. Meanwhile, Joe Biden carried the state by 17 points in the last election cycle. So a pretty different looking map than years past there, and we clearly see the state is now safe, as well as DC, Maryland, Massachusetts, Vermont, as well as Rhode Island, Connecticut, and Delaware. These were all safe states in 2024, including the state of New York. However, New York almost dropped below the 12-point threshold. It was a 12.5-point win for Harris. This time it's looking more like a 15-point win, so shifts about like 2.5 points to the left as of right now on the expanded battleground map. Maine's first will also be in the safe Democrat column, including Hawaii, which gives the Democrat 177 safe electoral college votes straight out the gate here. Looking at some of the likely Republican states, the state of Iowa is just below the 12-point threshold here at 11.6% for the Republican nominee. This is like a 1.5-point underperformance from 2024. It is on the higher end of likely, almost in the safe column still, but it does drop below, slightly below the 12-point threshold there. The state of Texas ends up just being about a 9-point win as opposed to the 14-point win that it was in the previous cycle. I have Democrats improving with Hispanics by default, so the Democrat gains on average like about 5 to 10 points with Hispanics in 2028, just given some of the fundamentals and predictions that I kind of have right now. So that is why Texas ends up narrowing a little bit, but it's still a pretty solid win given everything as of right now. Ohio will also be in this column at about actually over 13 points. So Ohio is actually in the safe column as opposed to Iowa this time. It actually shifts right from the previous election cycle. So that is very, very interesting to see. And West Virginia actually ends up shifting Republican as well. And Kentucky and Indiana barely have any shifts to the left whatsoever. So that is something important to point out. This kind of area here is actually trending in the Republican direction. That is what my model is picking up of as of right now. The state of Florida is just at about 10.5 points, so it's like a 2.5 point shift away from what it was in 2024. There's still pretty solid lockups for the GOP in this election, but they're still, under 12 points. A major difference from the last election when these were all actually safe Republican as opposed to Ohio, so they kind of traded spots this time around. Maine's second is still in that likely Republican column at about, give or take, 13 points. It actually ends up going into the safe column, so it actually shifts a couple points from the last cycle. So that is pretty interesting to see that unfold there. Alaska only ends up being a 9-point win for the Republican nominee. There has been some Democrat gains, recently, and so that is definitely going to be pretty interesting to look at as time goes on. So that is in the likely Republican column right now. And looking at the state of New Jersey, that is going to be in the likely Democrat column at about 8 points for the presumptive Democrat nominee. Last time they won it by 5.9%, Kamala Harris. It was under a 6-point win. It was in the lean Democrat column, but presumably the Democrat will gain as of right now in New Jersey. The state of New Mexico will also join this likely Democrat column at 7.5 points, for the presumptive Democrat nominee. Harris won it by 6 points last time around, and Hispanics are trending to the right. So this is a demographic that I would expect would hold the state down as like a semi-competitive state. It isn't going to be close as of right now, at least, but it does seem like the state is in the likely Democrat column there, as well as Virginia. So that one ends up shifting back, about, 3 points, give or take, to the left. An 8.5 point win. Doesn't match Joe Biden's 2020 margin, but it's still fairly in the Democrat column as of right now there. So that is pretty interesting. And I expect Virginia to kind of trend left in 2028. So I really don't think it's going to be in the hands of potentially winning for the Republicans next time around. New Hampshire is another state that I also think is going to be gone for Republicans in 2028. At least as of now, things could definitely change. The national environment could be different. Approval ratings could definitely shake things up, and some polling and registration numbers. But right now, the numbers in New Hampshire come back as an 8-point win when Donald Trump only lost it by like 2.5 last time around. So that is pretty interesting to see the state in the likely column now. I don't really think Republicans are going to have a shot there in 2028 at the presidential level. I even think Vance would struggle there quite a bit, given its tendency to swing against the incumbent party. And Minnesota at exactly 6 points, so it does end up shifting into the likely blue column. So this map is looking a little bit more like the 2020 election as opposed to the 2024 map, but you still have Texas, Iowa, and Florida in the likely column, so it is a fairly balanced map as of right now. And we see the swing states that we have here. Even Nebraska's second is like an 8-point win, so that one isn't even going to be remotely competitive for the Republican nominee. But we do have our swing states: Nevada, Arizona, Wisconsin, Michigan, Pennsylvania, North Carolina, Georgia, and Maine at large. So looking at the swing states, Nevada ends up coming in as a 2.5 point win for the Republican nominee. Again, this is mostly fueled by non-college whites and Hispanic voters shifting to the right. So I'm not surprised by this whatsoever. But we do see the state of Arizona is actually below the 5-point threshold, putting that in the toss-up category. I know that Donald Trump won the state by 5.5, but the state is very elastic, especially with the way Maricopa kind of shifts, and the fact that, yes, Donald Trump won the state by 5.5 points, against Kamala Harris, but then Ruben Gallego won it by 2.5 against Kari Lake. So the Hispanic vote makes it very elastic. It's a really elastic swing state, and because of that, I wouldn't really be putting it in the lean Republican column. I would actually label the state as like a pure toss-up as of right now in 2028. Again, approval ratings can definitely shift that. I think somebody like a J.D. Vance would be able to win Arizona by like +2 minimum, but that's where the state is right now. Looking at, the state of Georgia, however, it comes in as a 2.5-point win for the Democrat nominee, and this is mainly because of those Atlanta suburbs really shifting to the left. I think this is going to spell doom for Republicans, and I don't even know if Vance is going to be able to match the turnout there. Maybe with Vance, it'll be like a pure toss-up state, but on a generic toss-up map, I would expect Georgia to be lean Republican. And then looking at North Carolina, a 2.8 percentage point win for the GOP nominee there. So it's a barely shifting left from the last cycle, barely moves left. It's still over 2 points. So it does go in the Republican column as of right now. And then Maine at large is like a 5.5-point win. So it does continue to vote Democrat. It's like a point closer than what it was before. And this is mainly because Maine is becoming less college educated and is becoming more non-college educated, so that is definitely affecting it. If the voter registrations trend more Democrat later on, then you'll expect this to be in the likely Dem column, but it is in fact just below 6 points. And then we have the Rust Belt states, which all come in at roughly under 2 points. So these are all going to be in the toss-up category as well. Every single state that is decided by under 2 points is going to be under the toss-up category in this video, making Arizona, Wisconsin, Michigan, and Pennsylvania the pure toss-ups heading into the next general election, leaving both nominees at around 240. And so that sets up the matchup perfectly for the next time that we end up going into the elections. If you guys did enjoy this video, make sure to hit the like button and to subscribe if you want more content just like this. And I will see you guys in the next video.